Hello, we have here Mr. Patrick Brown, who has become the PC leader of Ontario. Congratulations for that.
Well, thank you so much. It's a real honor to serve as leader of the PC party. I'm excited for what lies ahead.
And in one of your meetings, you were saying, like if I become the premier, I will be the first Gujju premier. And what do you say now?
Well, I have to say the Gujarati support for my campaign was overwhelming. The fact that Gujarati Canadians from all around the province, in every corner, enthusiastically supported my campaign is something that I'm never going to forget. The fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to my campaign rally to lend me support and encouragement during my leadership race was a very special moment. And I've always said, I think it's well known that I've traveled to India 15 times. I've been to Gujarat on 9 different occasions. And what I've learned from Gujarat is that if you build conditions for business to succeed, if you build the conditions which entices investment, you can move mountains. And I use the story about Tata moving from Calcutta to Gujarat and those 50,000 jobs.
Yeah.
And I've said to myself, I want to do that in Ontario. I want to build the conditions in which Ontario can be a vibrant province. And that means building the transportation corridors to get product to marketplace, to getting energy costs under control and cutting red tape. You look what Narendra Modi did in Gandhinagar. You look what Narendra Modi did in Surat with the diamond industry. I'm excited about the potential that could exist in Ontario if we have that same focus on entrepreneurialism. Let's say that we build a vibrant Ontario where it is the easiest place in North America to invest and build a business and create jobs.
And how much do you think is the contribution of Indo-Canadians towards your campaign that you did?
It was absolutely incredible. The fact that every Indo-Canadian Conservative MP actively supported my campaign. If you looked at the numbers that signed up from the Indo-Canadian community, it was unprecedented. To be frank, I feel that I've got a very special friendship with the Indo-Canadian community. I have said that I feel as comfortable in Gandhinagar, Jalandhar, or Delhi as I do in Barrie, Stratford, or Ottawa. I feel a real affinity with the community, and I find that the values I'm pushing for in public life, that you work hard, that you can receive the benefits from your hard work. And I want to create an Ontario where you strive and you can create opportunity. You work hard, you can create opportunity. In my opinion, I see that in the Indo-Canadian community. The other thing that I see in the Indo-Canadian community is a real sense of family. Family is important. Families make our province strong, and I certainly want to advocate policies that reinforce the strength of the family. And from that perspective, I think the values that I'm pushing, I think the friendships I've made in the Indo-Canadian community are very much a driving force behind the success of my campaign.
That's true. And when you mention about, like using the model of Gujarat, you mean that exactly, model of Gujarat in Ontario?
I want to build a vibrant Ontario. I look at the way Narendra Modi...
Vibrant Ontario.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I look at the way Narendra Modi built a competitive Gujarat, and I say I want to do that in Ontario. I do think there's lessons to be learned. I think there's lessons to be learned on how you drive investment. And I'm not shy to say, from my visits to India, I have learned lessons. I have lessons on enticements towards investment and the possibilities that exist when you take that type of approach. And I'm excited for the next few years. I'm excited for what's possible in Ontario. And I really believe that this Gujju is going to move some mountains in the province of Ontario. And you'll notice that at my acceptance speech as leader of the party, I talked about that. I talked about what we're going to do together in Ontario.
Right. And you want to change the post of Premier to Chief Minister, right?
That's one of my jokes, that I refer to the post of Premier as Chief Minister. Obviously, as all Indo-Canadians know, that's how the position is referred to in India. But that's more just my joke inside.
Yeah. And secondly, what do you find, what kind of problem is with the Kathleen government?
I feel that the government of Kathleen Wynne has just continued to drive investment out. We've lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs, and whether it is this new pension scheme they're bringing in, which is a giant new bureaucracy, whether it's cap and trade, which ends up being another tax on businesses, they continue to make the environment hostile to business. We got gridlock suffocating urban hubs, missing transportation corridors in Northern Ontario. We've got the most expensive energy rates in North America, close to the most expensive energy rates in North America, and we are a haven for red tape. They've created the conditions that are hostile to bringing investment into Ontario. And I want to build an Ontario that does the exact opposite. I want people to be excited to invest in Ontario.
Mr. Patrick Brown, in 3 years there would be election of Ontario. What do you plan to do in between that?
Well, I plan to build the PC party. I want to make sure that everyone that joins as a member, that they're valued, and that we're going to build the most transparent and democratic political party. I'm going to have a continuous policy dialogue with the membership. I want this to be a grassroots movement. I realize that you get the best ideas by listening to the most people. I had a friend, a good friend of mine in Mississauga, Gurdad Gill, who told me, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, listen more than you talk. And that would be an approach that I take. I'm going to value the input I get from the membership, from stakeholders, from community leaders, and I want to build a platform that is based on thoughtful ideas of how to build a stronger Ontario.
You were Member Parliament. What's your status right now?
Well, a week and a half ago I resigned my seat as the Member of Parliament for Barrie. Let me say it was a privilege to serve the city of Barrie for 9 years. The people of Barrie are an incredible part of who I am, and I know in a matter of a few years I'll come back to Barrie to run as an MPP and aspire to be Premier of Ontario from the seat of the city of Barrie. And I'm up for the challenge of serving all of Ontario, but you never forget where you're from, and Barrie is a very important place for me.
Right. And what plans do you have for Toronto, which is having so much of crime and gun violence?
But if you look at the overall picture on crime, we are seeing a historical decrease in crime in Canada. In terms of gun crime, I support the approach taken by Prime Minister Stephen Harper. I think some of the changes he's done on minimum sentences for serious crimes, how he's dealt with dead time, and the use of conditional sentences, I think has helped curb the revolving door of justice that we saw for so long, and that's the type of approach that we need to continue.
Kathleen Wynne's mistakes will give you quite a good chance to win the elections when they come in Ontario.
I think it's more than seeing your opponent make mistakes. I think, frankly, a lot of people didn't want to re-elect Kathleen Wynne in the last election. I thought they saw the government had failed, had let down Ontario. But they looked at the platform proposed by the Progressive Conservative Party and didn't feel comfortable. So I think it's not simply enough to say the other guys have messed up. I think you have to come up with a thoughtful platform that speaks about building a vibrant Ontario. And I will be building that platform this time.
And if Conservative Party comes in power, what are you going to do about the hydro bills that have risen in this May?
Well, the energy policies of the government have been absolutely disastrous. The Green Energy Act has been an absolute unmitigated disaster, and now they want to sell off Hydro One, a fire sale that may not be getting proper value. So I've got serious reservations of how they've handled this file, and if there's any area that merits this government's defeat at the polls is the fact that they have presided over a period of time where we've seen a tripling of Ontario's hydro bills. Thank you.
Thank you a lot. Thanks for your interview, and it was nice talking to you.
My pleasure.